I say days of wine and roses are no longer around. Strictly ragamuffin. That's the rule of the town. Hey. Haya, karibuni. I'm just changamka. Hey, kahawa tungu. Kahawa tungu. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies, and comrades, I hope you're doing well wherever you are. This is Kenya Revolutionary for another session. I'll be brief. I'll be here shortly. Well, maybe not. Maybe I'll be here for a minute. I don't know how long I'll be here. I'm just here to just have fun. Talk to you guys about what's going on in Kenya. Spit out my concerns. Like I say, it's a form of catharsis, okay? So that I can feel better about myself. Naitoa kwa kifua, naisema yote. And I will share with you my frustrations, my optimism, or lack thereof, regarding what's happening in Kenya. So if you are going to join me, ladies and gentlemen, we have to start with the formalities. If this is your first time in this channel, my name is Kenya Revolutionary. I talk about Kenyan politics and world politics as it relates to Kenya. So if you like that kind of stuff, hey, this is a place for you. You can join in. I'll throw you the link if you want the link. We can talk, discuss, debate, do all that. Just keep it respectful. Okay? If not, you can just listen on the background, throw your 2 cents in the chat, or, you can just listen quietly if you're at work or you're just leaving work, you're driving home or whatever the case is. Karibu sana. Now, if you've already subscribed, you're a member, whatever the case is, you are ready for the next episode, please, the first order of business, like the video. That's the first order of business. Karibu sana. Now, today, I'm kind of freestyling my way like usual. I do not have a topic in hand, but I'm just talking about things in general. How we got here as Kenyans. Where did the chicken cross the road, so to speak? Where did the brain start beating? Is that how they say it? I don't know. Help me if they say it. There's too many sayings out there. But, I mean, we are talking about Ruto must go. Ruto is this. Ruto is the dictator. Ruto is this and that, like this, like that, like this, like that, and like that, like this, like that. So just wait till the next episode. Anyway, we just have to ask ourselves. We have to ask ourselves this very question. How did we end up with Ruto? Tulifikaje hapa? Did Ruto was born and God just threw him in this wonderful land called Kenya and akakuwa president? No. There are events that led up to what we have today. Okay? Things that happen. Okay? Decisions that some of us made, or collectively we have a hand in it. And that's what I will kind of try to walk you through. Okay? Because usually when I look at the politics in general, especially in Kenya, I think it's just a little bit too simplistic if you are looking at it as Ruto versus Gachagua, Ruto versus Maraga or whatever, Matiangi, whatever the case is. It's a bit too simplistic. It takes more than that. There's more to that than just, okay, the Kalenjin from Rift Valley versus, I don't know, you name it, there's more to it, okay? There's more to it. There's the international aspect of it. There's, the con men who are involved with it. There's so much that plays into this whole reason why we have Ruto where we are. And even our efforts as patriots, the people who, our efforts as patriots who are trying to remove Ruto through popular revolution. There are reasons why there are a faction of people who are working with Ruto undercover, pretending to be part of the revolutionaries. We can mention the Boniface Mwangis of this world, the human rights crew, like Wakina Hanefa, how they pretend that they are part of the movement, but in real sense, they are put there to infiltrate the movement to stop it. So those are the part of the reasons why I'm talking about. There's too many layers into this as to why Ruto is still president and how he got here. That's the point I want to emphasize. But let's start. Like I said, if you want to understand the present context, you have to look at history. Okay? If you want to understand where you are in life, you have to, look back. Take inventory of your past actions. See where you went wrong. Where did it all start? Who are the powers that are affording Ruto this seat that he holds? Because it is obvious that majority of Kenyans don't want him. But obviously, it's not all of us. But the few that still want him in place have a lot of power. They hold all the instruments of power that help secure his presidency. That's why he can walk around and talk smack and not care. What about the people who claim that they want him, the united opposition? Are they really genuine people who want Ruto out? Or they're just playing a part in this whole huge script we call Kenyan Republic? Okay? These are the things that we should... People like Raila Odinga, do you honestly think that this guy would like to see Ruto gone? Do you honestly think that you would like to see the system be overhauled? People like Gachagua, these people thrive, live, breathe, and shit comfortably within this corrupt system. So talking about a revolution, you will be talking about a language that they do not understand, they do not want, and they will do everything to stop it because that's how they stay relevant. That's how they make their livelihood. That's how they breathe. Okay? But anyway, I want to start with a small clip here that I saw. I think his name is Abel or whatever the case is. He kind of, I was listening to him and I was like, oh, this guy, he makes a good point. He gets some good point. Okay? He makes a good point. Abel is what's the name of it? What's the name of it? He's an actor or some sort of a writer or whatever the case is, and he was breaking down how we actually, initially got, Kenya, how it was handed over from the colonialists to their stooges in 1963 up until now. Now, the events, I don't know if you guys have been living under a rock, but I'm pretty sure majority of you have had the news about the United Nations moving its headquarters to Nairobi. That's a huge, huge development. And I'll tell you why. That is a clear indication, if not the clearest indication, that the globalists have endorsed Kenya as their biggest stooge. The people leading this country are doing an exemplary job. Yeah. Wonderful job to advance their agenda to a point where they had to move it from New York to Nairobi. Now, if the globalists are going to move these United Nations to Nairobi, don't you think that they would love Kenya to have a stable colonial puppet to oversee this country, make sure that it advances its policies, implements it, okay? Do whatever they want, okay? So they will work out everything from, if it takes coup d'etats, regime change through the military, infiltration of any revolutionary movement, propping up fake United Front opposition, or whatever ways they have to use, or political assassinations. These guys have been doing this for a long time. Okay? So they will do anything to actually make sure that the place, the country that hosts the United Nations headquarters is fairly stable and is what? It's the example to the world of how to be a stooge of the globalist. Now, let's start with this clip here that I want to share with you. It's a very nice, this guy, I think, is an actor, whatever the case is, and he gives a story. He actually communicates. I like his communication skills because he's giving you the he explains it. He explains it in a contemporary lingo to the youths and anybody who lives in Kenya, how we got to where we got, how the colonialists replaced the white faces with the black mzungus to continue holding us back. I say that to say this. We understand that every president since Jomo Kenyatta has been nothing but a colonial stooge. That's why the majority of Kenyans have never been in support of their re-election or their election, with the exception of 2002. Let's just get this video out of the way, then I'll kind of build my case as we continue. I know some of you would like to talk about the political nitty-gritties, the drama, the development, whether it's what Raila is doing, what Sifuna is doing, and all that good stuff. We'll touch on that too. We'll talk about that too. So okay. I see Brother Benso, Yosef, and Ahmed in there. Karibu sana. Let's get to the point here. Let's get to the video that I want actually to play you so we can see, you can understand what I'm talking about, how we got here. Because I see a lot of people, we are having a discussion where we kind of don't understand the real power behind Ruto. Here it is. Let's listen to this guy.
Kama unafikiria mzee alikuwa mtu ati tunakufa na maumau think again. Mzee aliwekwa hapo na mzungu sababu they knew they needed someone mwenye ataendelea kupush agenda zao. They planted a puppet. Unajua wakati mnafukuza mzungu anakishaga amewaachia. Si unajua anataka kuonyesha ni kama okay sawa, you're liberal now, mnaweza fanya kile mnataka. In fact hata chagueni leader wenu. But kitu amjui ni huyu leader mnafaa mchague ni leader tayari mnakuwa imposed, amekuwa imposed now. So hakuna kitu mpya mnafanya hapa. Ameshaweka puppet wake hapo. Anajua mkichagua huyu Mwafrika huyu, bado you will still be dancing to our tune. If you don't know, now you know, because that is exactly what happened to this country of yours. Kama unafikiria itachoma. Kama unafikiria mzee alikuwa mtu ati tunakufa na maumau think again. Mzee aliwekwa hapo na mzungu sababu they knew they needed someone mwenye ataendelea kupush agenda zao. Yeah. Otherwise ingekuwa ni tupatie wale watu walipigania kitu, kungekuwa na watu tofauti hapo. President wetu wa kwanza angekuwa na madredi. Sababu watu wa maumau tunajua vile walikuwa wanakaa. Mtu amewekwa hapo anatandika kizungu proper kuliko hata wazungu wengine. Ni mtu wao. Ni mtu wao. So that is exactly what ended up happening where? In Central African Republic, country ya kina huyu jamaa wetu anaitwa Bokassa. He knew he would ruffle some feathers na zile actions zake. Za wizi hapa na pale nini. So akaanza kutufanya tu vile, typical founding fathers wamekuwa wakitufanya. Ama mnafikiria wenu tu ni mashule alikuwa anaweka jina yake? Mnafikiria alijipata na millions of acres za shamba aje? Yeah. Typical founding father behavior. Njua itakaa ni kama ninaangukia family moja, lakini imefika wakati wa historia inafaa tuambie ukweli. Unajua tumeishi kwa era ambayo historia, tunapewa historia ambayo imecraftiwa na watu wengine huko nje. Sinipoa sasa hii generation inakuja wapate the real history. Si ndio? Bas.
Very well put. Very well put by Abel. Uh, so, what he's basically trying to say, and I like that comment by Joseph Bedes, the economic hitmen are on the ground and they're running. A great proof that economic hitmen are on the ground. What's that bill that that was passed? Was it 2 years ago, 2023? That inataka kupitishwa sasa, implemented now. Eh? Ndio sasa tuanze the bill. What is it called? What is this bull crap is called? Somebody please tell me on the comment section, Apple. What is this bill? Ambao IMF ilisema ati we are not going to release that 750 something million dollars to Kenya for development unless that law is implemented. Now think about it. Again, thank you for highlighting the name of the book, The Economic Hitman by John Perkins. I always sing about that song. About that book. Promote it here freely because these books gives you a deep insight as to how Kenya is being run. I saw the news about, that's what's caught my attention today, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. When I think it was Standard or whatever, the news outlets there were saying that, okay, the IMF is ready to release the 700 and something million US dollars that they were initially going to give this regime, but they were holding it because they wanted to make sure that the law is implemented. The something interest. What is it called? Conflict of interest law that was supposed to be passed or implemented, whatever the case is. So basically, this law says that you cannot do business with government or whatever if you are in government or whatever the case is. Okay, I haven't really looked up into it, but it's something of that effect. Because how do people make their millions or billions? Majority of these politicians wanaingia politics, alafu tender ni yao. Governors the same thing. Wanaingia tender zote ni za their personal, their companies, ama their relatives company. You know the drill, okay? So the IMF. But let me just make something very clear, okay? Let me make something very, very clear. The reason why I had to highlight this one, this comment by Nani, because I always mention that book, The Economic Hitman, by John Perkins, the CIA guy who worked for IMF and World Bank, who actually, he would pay a visit to a president like Ruto or Suluhu or Museveni and sit down with them and tell them, hey, this is what you need to be doing. You're going to take this loan of 50 million or whatever the case is, and in return, this is what you need to do. You need to privatize. Listen to me, privatize. Keyword, privatize some aspect of your economy. Let's say, let me give you a hint. Pipeline. Simlisikia your news, your pipeline. Naenda kwa private, it's going to be privatized. Yes. Go read the book for yourself. It's mind-boggling. The things that this dude was doing in 1950s and 60s and 70s are still in place to this very day. It was done in Chile, done in Congo, done in, all these countries that you see. That's the struggle. That's why you see, Traore is being and survive assassination attacks every minute. Because he said, I don't need your money. I don't need masharti zenu and all this nonsense. We can finance ourselves. And guess what? That's the point that Suluhu is trying to make. Mnasikia? Nyinyi mnapiga makelele hapo ati sijui Suluhu is kicking out foreign traders. She's not stupid. I've been telling you this lady is not crazy like you're trying to paint him. That's why you see the useful idiots like Boniface Mwangi, Martha Karua, and the rest who are being paid by George Soros money are being sent there to demonize her in order kujaribu kumtoa. Because this lady is friends with who? The female president from Namibia. What's the name? This lioness from Namibia, who is also friends with who? Botswana president, who's also friends with who? Ibrahim Traore. It's a new movement that seek to be economically independent. That's why you see Suluhu is taking such steps and saying, you know what? We are, flummoxed, okay, by these foreign business people, hawkers, whatever the case is. How about we put Tanzania first? Let Tanzanian business people have the first hand in the economic jar, proverbial economic jar, or serving. Let them be the people who are on the front line. Let's build this Tanzanian economy. Let our business people serve our people first before we start bringing these foreigners. You understand what I'm saying? I know some of you might say this is a protectionist move, but sometimes you do need that, especially if you have countries that are like Kenya, where they export their workers. And that's why I was laughing or kind of offended by people who are Kenyans who are saying, Tanzania wanafukuza our business people. Sijui nini. No, it's not her fault. She's kicking you out. The person you should be yelling at is Alfred Mutua. You should be out there telling Alfred Mutua, hey, listen, stop sending us to Tanzania, sijui wapi, Saudi Arabia. Ambieni Ruto, create jobs domestically. Wacha maneno ya kutuambia ati sisi tuende Saudi Arabia. I saw a young man who was talking about he was sent to Saudi Arabia to go to take care of snakes. I mean, people, we have to be serious at times. Lakini Alfred Mtu atakuja hapo anambia ati kazi majuu. What kind of nonsense is this? That's why when I hear people complaining, sijui our business people are being kicked out of Tanzania, sijui nini, they are outraged by an action by a president who's putting the interests of her people first. Instead of getting mad at her, turn to your president and be mad at your president and say, President Ruto, how about you put our interests first? By first, kick out these foreign traders and let the Kenyan traders have the first dip in the economic jar. Okay, the proverbial one. Instead of privatizing everything. I've been singing here every day saying that if a parastatal is not functioning, you do not privatize it. Privatization of an industry does not necessarily means that it will be more efficient or more profitable. You should take the same steps that you take if you're in a private sector or a public sector. If an industry is not operating profitably, then look at what's the problem. Is it a matter of corruption? Is it a matter of incompetence? Is it a matter of needing more capital? You should go and do an audit and see what's the problem with the industry. Then revitalize it. If it means firing a couple of people and putting people who are incompetent, people who are not corrupt, and you've revitalized the industry that in turn employs more Kenyan people, and it broadens the tax base. Because the more people work, more people pay taxes. And it's good. We don't have to raise the middle class, raise taxes on the middle class who are already being overtaxed in Kenya. Okay? That's how you do it. So stop getting mad at Suluhu for doing what's best for her country. You have your own country. Ukitupwa huko Tanzania ukaambiwa ati biashara itakuwa tu ya Watanzania, usikasirike kama wewe ni Mkenya. Hiyo ni nchi yao. Wewe rudi nyumbani useme haya, Ruto, tulifukuzwa huko. Wewe ondoka. If you can't create jobs for us, toka. There are measures that the president can do to improve the level of unemployment. to get more people employed. Not just employed, but to earn livable working wages. You understand? These are the things that you can do. But back to what I was trying to say, I started with Abel. Yes, thank you. Conflict of Interest Act. I guess it was, I don't know if was it passed or was passed but not implemented, or whatever the case, or not assented, because I guess Ruto signed it today. Was it today or yesterday, or was going to sign it, whatever the case is. Okay? But the bottom line is, this Conflict of Interest Bill Act was actually introduced due to the IMF, saying that they had it as a requirement. If you do not pass a law that prohibits government officials doing business with government, do I make sense? Then we are not going to release this money. But again, here's the mischief in that. If you read the book by John Perkins, he said that they knew, these IMF World Bank banksters, okay? When they were giving this money to these corrupt countries, they did not care the level of corruption that happened in that government, as long as their interest was secure. Labani, karibu sana. I see you. Nice seeing you. Long time. Mnaelewa? So go read it. It will open your eye. Itakufanya uelewe. And I called it long time ago. Really, 3 months into the. In fact, what I believe IMF is doing, they're actually aiding President Ruto by giving this $700 and something US dollars. I think I'll find the actual news piece that was written about this, so that we can actually see what get the real numbers there. But Ruto is quickly alisikia ati, that's all you need me to do? Nipitishe kitu na nipige sahihi na mtaniwachilia mnipate hiyo 700 and something milioni 700. Hey, Ruto ran and signed, because half of that million itaendea kwa mfuko yake, na ile mambaksho itakuwa ya Raila na Oscar Sudi na Murkomen na wengine weo, na kampeni ya 2027 ya kulipa hao wakora kwa IBC. And like I said, go read the book. The guy said they knew this country. It was actually, listen to me very carefully. This is his words, by John Perkins, who worked for IMF, who wrote a book that Bedas is telling me up here, is actually referring to, that we have been talking about it. He said that money, those loans, some of them were being issued to these corrupt individual states as a what? As a bribe. Remember, to these people, pesa ni otas. Pesa otas. They print money. By the way, let me tell you a personal story about me when I was in high school. I used to get mad when our high school teacher or primary school teacher, whatever the case is, back then in, I was in primary school, when our teacher would tell us that we're talking about trade, how Africans will trade with Arabs or Africans will trade with the Europeans. We would give them gold and the Arabs will give us spices. Waarabu na Wahindi wanatuuzia roiko, wanatupatia roiko na sisi tunawapatia gold. I used to get mad about that. Nilikuwa nasema, no, something is wrong. But guess what? They're still running that trick on us to this day. These colonialists wanatukujia hapa na a paper printed na face ya wazungu wa zamani, wakina sijui Jefferson, Washington, George Washington and Jefferson, Thomas Jefferson and Andrew sijui nani. Wanatuambia hiyo kitu inaitwa dollar, and this dollar is equal to your land. And we are happy. Yeah, tunafanyia dollar. Then we go rent houses in Arab countries, UAE, Dubai. Na tunawapatia land yetu. You see how stupid we are, or let me correct that, how stupid our leaders are. I like what Ibrahim Traore did. Vile watu wa United Arab Emirates told him that we are willing to give you billions so you can build mosques. Akamwambia ni poleni, car with your billions. We don't need mosque in Burkina Faso. We need more industries, and we have more than enough money to build for ourselves. Kaeni na hiyo pesa yenu ya miskiti. Same tricks. Thank you. Labani anasema, but remember we need some thicker super highway to Nyalenda as we paid for. Hi, Labani, you're always interesting. At Labani anasema, but I have to highlight this. Labani, hey, but we remember we need the same thicker super highway to Nyalenda as we paid for the original one heading to Kirigiti. Labani, I mean, your politics is always off the map. It's we are diametrically opposed, but in opposite sides, but you never fail to entertain. I think Ronaldo to Kirgiti. I mean, yes, Laban, you're making a good point. Yes, we need highway. Basically, you're saying that we need infrastructure, okay? For, if you're going to have industries, how are we going to transport these wonderful things that we're producing? I agree with you, Labani. You're making a good point. The point is, Labani, these loans that we are taking, and I think by now you already know about it. I mean, all you have to do, go listen to Okiamtata and Jimmy Wanjigi, who has been telling you, singing about this song for a long time. These loans that we are taking, number one, they were acquired illegally without the approval of the people. Okay, the people through the National Assembly, our members of parliament. Okay, there's ways in which you can borrow. It has to be approved by the parliament. Majority of these loans were not approved by the parliament. Number two, majority of these loans did not even make it to the consolidated fund. Benki Kuu ya Kenya. It went to personal bank accounts of individuals. Okay, they were acquired illegally and they never even reached here. So what I'm trying to say, Nani Laban, is that yes, we need infrastructure. Yes, we need money for these projects. But guess what? The money that we collect from our taxes are actually more than enough to build that thicker superhighway from Nyalenda to Kirigiti. You get the point? So the point is not that we don't need these highways. We do need them. But the problem comes when we borrow this money illegally without the approval of the people through the National Assembly. Then when we borrow this money, it doesn't even reach Kenya. Inaenda kwa benki ya Uhuru Kenyatta na marafiki zake. That's the point. And it's not Uhuru only that does that. Ruto did it. Kibaki, Moi, Jomo. You understand? And it comes down to, again, go read that book. They say, these IMF World Bank people, they know that this money is being stolen, but they can care less as long as some aspects of these individual nations' economy is privatized. They are given to a specific transnational corporation that the IMF, this economic hitman, handpick and tell the president, this is the company that will actually take over your pipeline. As you see, I just read in today's Standard that is it Kenya Pipeline is going to be privatized, and they did so. Ruto did that unilaterally, made a unilateral decision without consulting the National Assembly, because by law he's supposed to consult the people before the sale or the handing over of the privatization of any parastatal. He never did that. Okay? So, Joseph Biden is making a good point. In fact, now they are subdividing Congo into 3, with Stato, with State or Stato getting the prime areas for coltan. Well, I saw Congo, sinoliambia Trump ati we chukua ile kitu nataka. You see what I'm saying? Okay. So getting Kaongo will be ngumu sana. Yes and no. Yes, it's because we are not united. No, because if we are united, we can easily take him out as simple as tomorrow. Literally, I'm not even kidding. Ndio maana our of the political class, they are working so hard to divide us na hii siasa ya ukabila. Gachagua amesimamia Wakikuyu huku, haya anatembea na nenio Raila na Wajaluo na kina Kuku Denja huku akipiga makelele, na Sifuna ndio huyo na sijui akina whatever Mudavadi. You see what I'm saying? They are doing this because they have to fragment the population, you know, to rudi back to sectarian politics. Hao wanataka ile politics tunafanyanga ile ya kila siku, ile tunaenda IBC, alafu IBC chairperson ana announce, tunaanza kuchapana mangumi, mawe na kadhalika, na tunaanza kuchinjana, alafu mwishoe conclave inakuja, conclave ya Agwambo Thiring'enye conman mwenyewe Ayatondo Poda anawaambia haya, kujeni mkae chini. You know, you understand what I'm saying? So that's what they want. Ndio maana they still want to stick to this sectarian politics. Eh? Why do you think they had Sifuna? Wacha tatu tusiingie kwa Sifuna mwanzo. Wacha let me stay on task hapa. Anyway, so here's the news about the new, and I'll find that clip about the privatization of Kenya Pipeline, which is very sad. A huge industry that we Kenyans can actually run it. Listen, if there's any smart people in Kenya, whether it's businessmen, scientists, engineers, programmers, whatever, what Kenya ni watu wako na akili. There's so many smart people out there. Listen, I meet them almost every day. Watu wako na education, ukianza kuongea nao hata unaanza kusema, jamani, what are you doing huku mangambo ukifanyia hii serikali ya huku nje kazi? You know, you can go bring, but you can't blame them because ukirudi huko nyumbani. Anyway, that's a story for another day. I'm just making a point that conclave sounds like a private meeting of occultists. Yeah, I think a conclave is actually a private meeting between two parties. So by definition, I think. So here it is. Wacha tusikie habari ninio alafu, we'll ninio. This is what I was talking about. Then I'll show you ninio. I'll show you guys what ninio ile maendeleo ya what's been going on. Ndio hiyo sasa habari tulisikia.
Could soon be pushed out of Tanzania following a new government order that bans foreigners from operating in key business sectors. The directive targets small and medium enterprises, including retail, tour guiding, mobile money services, and salons, raising serious concerns for cross-border livelihoods. The move also risks reigniting tensions between Nairobi and Dodoma, as David Mudhoka reports.
A new order from the Tanzanian government is setting strict limits on who can do business within its borders. Signed last week by Industry and Trade Minister Selemani Jafo, the directive officially bars non-citizens from engaging in 15 business activities, among them retail and wholesale trade, mobile money transfer services, phone and electronics repair, salon and cleaning services, parcel delivery, tour guiding, curio shops, and real estate brokerage. The law took effect immediately. Foreigners, including Kenyans, conducting the aforementioned businesses in Tanzania are no longer eligible for new business licenses in these sectors, and existing licenses will not be renewed. A non-citizen who engages in any of the prohibited business activities risks a fine of not less than 10 million Tanzanian shillings, imprisonment for up to 6 months, and revocation of their visa and residence permit. A Tanzanian citizen who assists or enables a non-citizen to carry out the banned activities faces a fine of 5 million shillings or up to 3 months in prison upon conviction. The directive hits hard in sectors where Kenyans have built a strong presence, especially in tourism, informal retail, and cross-border logistics. Reacting to the order, Victor Shitaka, who's the chairman of the Kenya Coast Tourism Association, says, and I quote, "In our effort to collaborate as East Africans and Africa as a whole, and whereas I can understand the aim to safeguard our citizens, I find it sad that one country will make such a decision." On his part, Dr. Sami Kwaye, who's the executive officer of the Kenya Association of Hotel Keepers and Caterers, says, and I quote, "It is the duty of each country to protect its citizens' job, but they should consider integration as no country can stand on its own. We are waiting if Kenya might be given special treatment in this notice, considering a number of MOUs we have with Tanzania." End of quote. The order comes at a sensitive time for regional trade. Just 2 months ago, Tanzania slapped protectionist tariffs on Kenyan dairy, meat, eggs, and biscuits, fueling a growing sense of mistrust in the East African market. For now, Kenyans already licensed in Tanzania can continue until their permits expire. But without diplomatic intervention, the space for foreign traders and regional unity could be shrinking. David Muthoka, NTV, Nairobi.
All right. So there you are. Suluhu, like I said, Suluhu is protecting her people from, anataka watu wake waendelee kiuchumi. So I don't blame him. I don't blame her on that. Now here's the news about the conflict of interest law that I don't know if it's Ninio, but here it is. Here's the news clip about it. We can maybe dissect it. That is tied to World Bank and IMF and
to pass the Conflict of Interest Bill 2023, a revamped. Kenya has moved a step closer to unlocking 97 billion shillings frozen by the World Bank Group after President William Ruto assented to a bill that seeks to put curbs on politicians and public officials doing business with the government to enrich themselves. The multilateral lender had blocked the disbursement of the loan after Kenya failed to pass the Conflict of Interest Bill 2023, a revamped legislation to contain graft in the public service. The financing from the World Bank is critical at a time when the government has found itself under building fiscal pressures demonstrated by missed revenue targets and the lack of a standing arrangement with the International Monetary Fund. The National Treasury initially expected funding from the World Bank by June 30th, but the disbursement was withheld as the Conflict of Interest Bill remained stuck in the legislative process. Kenya has moved a step closer to unlocking 97 billion shillings.
All right, so basically, the bill had passed, but Ruto had not put his sahihi in order to unlock that 70 billion or whatever the case is. Because obviously Ruto, as we know, he has been, him along with his friends, political associates like the Raila Odingas of this world, they're deeply involved with doing business with government. And to me, this bill is actually, it does, just like any other bill or any other law in this country, or the constitution for that matter, this regime is deeply corrupt. And while it sounds good, okay, conflict of interest act, hakuna kufanya biashara kama uko kwa serikali, you can't be doing business with serikali. This thing will still go on because, you can always have these proxy companies with a funny name, or your cousin's name who lives in, Kitengela, whatever the case is, Kirigiti, have his name there as the owner of a company to, get a deal with the government and do your business that way. It won't stop anything. It's just something to show the public that, okay, we are making an effort. And at the same time, IMF know very well this is just another way of trying to fool the the Kenyan public that, hey, listen, we are serious about not giving money to a government that has been accused of or involved, embroiled in corruption, okay? So they're trying to just show the Kenyan people that, hey, we are doing something. We are not just irresponsible. We are not just giving this regime money blindly to spend it whichever way they wish. We are trying to actually be serious. We are doing something about it. But basically, what IMF is doing, this is money for Ruto in order for him to actually give up, like I said, a certain aspect of the Kenyan economy. Again, go read the book, the Economic Hitman by John Perkins. You will read and it will make sense to you. And that's why you wonder why the electricity prices are going up, water, all that stuff. Everything is going up because, yes, it's happening. They will outmaneuver the law. Absolutely, Joseph. It's happening worldwide. I mean, yeah, I remember even in US, there were some states that were complaining that, their toll roads were being run by a German company, okay, or a Canadian company. So this happens worldwide, okay? But I'm just saying that, I guess the point I'm trying to make is Ruto, every country to some degree is corrupt, okay? Some less than others, but Ruto ni ile ya kufanya waziwazi, just like, his predecessors. Uhuru was no different. Kibaki was no different. Moi, we know about him. Jomo was a gone case, okay? We know this has been happening since Kenya became a republic, quote unquote, okay? So this has been happening. Now, the reason why I'm bringing all this up is to basically show people that while we argue and debate about, Amunyoros and, Sifunas and Railas and Uhurus, we have to understand the problem from its roots. You have to. Kama, samaki kama imeoza, you throw the whole thing, the baby and the bathwater, whatever the case. Yani, you uproot it from the roots. Kwa sababu what we do, sisi tunakatanga tu, one leaf, alafu tunazidi kuweka maji izidi kulinio. Yes, UN is full blown is in Kenya. And go look at the UN. Go look at UN, uangalia historia ya UN. It's not a very clean it's not a clean organization. UN basically is just another branch of whether it's UN, WHO, UNESCO, IMF, World Bank, all this. These are all interconnected. The people who are behind it, the powers behind it, okay, they are the very people who are running the multi-corporation, multinational corporations, okay, the Black Rocks and all this stuff, okay. Those are the people who are the Bill Gates, the George Soros. You know what I mean, okay. And these are the people who are pulling the strings and wanaleta hizi mapolisi zao and using stooges like Ruto and Railas and Uhurus and the Gachaguas to do their dirty work and put their ninio, okay? Oh yeah, and Matiang'i, that's why I was saying, even when I heard Matiang'i mentioned that he wanted to run for president, I was like, running for president as someone who worked for World Bank that should disqualify you. But hey, don't be surprised if this pinhead becomes the president. Do not be surprised if it's true. Actually, I even have my doubts if he actually worked for World Bank, which maybe alikuwa a watchman mahali. I don't believe him. But I'll do my due diligence. I don't believe him. Anyway, but so I'll play one more clip. There's an angle. Let me say this. Let me just pivot to a new something that I want to mention. Now, if you know my position is this. There's no need for an election. There's no need for an election in 2027. Unfortunately, Kenya, we are so patient to end elections, and after elections, when it will be clear that Ruto has ameiba kura, that's when we'll actually see the need of going to the streets, okay? And at that point, it won't be the ideal time because wengine wetu, you'll be brainwashed to think that that tribe is the reason why we are suffering, why we are not making any inroads or developments, why we are having these atrocities happen, the extrajudicial killings, the corruption, and this. We'll be blaming one tribe and the other. Unasikia? That's why I'm saying it's not helpful to wait till elections. Unfortunately, Wakenya tunavumilianga mpaka siku za election, hapo ndio sasa tunaanza moto inawaka. By then, you know, when it becomes so clear that Ruto ameiba, it's too late. Tunaanza kupigana one tribe after the other. Na watu wakianza kukufa, watu wa conclave wanakujanga na hiyo conclave basi yao, in the name of peace. Utawaambia mnataka hii vita ishe. You want people to stop the bloodshed. Haya, chukueni conclave. You see? But if we do it now that we have never atuja fika hiyo stage where we can actually see how these people are rigging this thing, wazi, okay? If we do it now, it will be much better because, you know, people are fairly rational about it, okay? Nothing is working. We've given Ruto time to make some changes. He hasn't. So guess what? Let's unite, go to the streets, demand that Ruto steps down immediately. Not only him along with the whole executive branch of government, him along with all the legislative members of, you know, branch of government. Okay? Then reconstitute a new IBC after all these people have stepped down. Okay? Have our own new people chosen commissioners, new commissioners of the IBC, okay, who shall oversee the next real elections of Kenya. Okay, that's how the initiative has to go back to the power has to go back to the people. The initiative has to be by the people. We cannot leave these conclave octogenarians, known conmen, murderers, thieves and thugs, okay, swindlers, known for their political conmanship, okay, lead this conversation or lead any kind of movement using their minions like the Moraras and Kasmuels and Boniface Mwangis and these useful idiots that you see on TV every day, like Onyonka, whatever the case is. What's his name? That silly dude that was in the Neo that says Matiang'i should run for president simply because he's his own tribesman, okay? That's what I mean. It has to come from the people, not the pinheads like Gachagua, who was groveling in Baltimore asking for a few dollars to spend on his already doomed DCP campaign. We do not need that. We do not need these murderous thugs like Matiang'i, that puffed up chins, face, fat fuck that wants to convince us that he is best suited to become president after having a resume of a litany of corruption cases, okay, in Kenyan courts. This guy did not even respect the court orders, 9 to be exact, if not more, okay? He has blood in his hands in Rivayala and elsewhere else. Ruaraka land scandal. I can go on and on. These are the people that you're entertaining. And some of you are saying these are serious candidates. And you wonder why 2027 people will be killing each other. It is because you're buying this nonsense. So we do not need to wait till 2027. We need to rally around an idea. The first idea is this. We are Kenyans, all Kenyans, and let's speak with one voice. Ruto is not the only one who is on the chopping block. Ruto will be number 1 on the chopping block. The whole united political party, I don't know, opposition, united opposition, all of them too, including Raila Odinga with his minions at ODM, including Sifuna with his square-faced head, shaped head. He should go too. The Sakajas, known drug barons that are in this executive branch of government. These people should be on the chopping block. Okay, it's not just Ruto. For those of you who are sitting there and thinking that, oh, this should be ending by Ruto, Ruto is the only one who will be going, then we just have to change it with Maraga. I have bad news for you. Even your favorite presidential candidates, the likes of this ugly witch, Martha Karua, who had a huge part to play in 2007 post-election violence. This lady should be lynched in broad daylight for the things that he did during the Kibaki regime. These people should not have the time of the day, not even be given a minute in any national media to spew their vitriol and their nonsense, their tribal nonsense coming up every day. These are the people that we should get rid of, every one of. Every member of parliament in Kenya, is this the 13th parliament? All of them, including Okiom Tata, I don't care. All of them, they should be banned. And there should be a law that if you are a senator, you cannot become an MP, you cannot run for governorship, you cannot be an MCA. As a matter of fact, you cannot run for any position once you are a senator. You cannot have this merry-go-round like the Kalwales, Boni Kalwale, another pinhead from Kakamega, who thinks it's fashionable to go benchmark in Norway somewhere, looking like a flat-footed pretender, okay? Taking pictures like a 15-year-old, posting pictures, selfies on Instagram, okay? This idiot that we know, he was having his wife shagged by the houseboy, house help, then he's blaming it on the bull. We know these characters. We shouldn't have people like this pretend now that, oh, they've seen the light all of a sudden, oh, because they've seen that UDA is probably not going to be the president. We cannot have this game where we have merry-go-round. People like Atwoli, this imbecile, okay, intellectually challenged. He probably have Down syndrome. You see how protruded his big stomach. He looks like a freaking ox. Malnourished, well, not malnourished, but overfed ox ready to be sold in Bukungu somewhere else. I don't know where. Who are still the trade union heads. All they can say is Shenzi, and they think they're accomplishing something by taking pictures going to Switzerland. That's the whole point. It's not just Ruto must go. He is going along with the whole rotten system. Everybody who has as a matter of fact, anyone who has held public position in government ever since 2025 going backwards is not eligible to run for any public office anywhere. You cannot even run for sub-chief. That should be the law, because anyone from 2025 going down, back, they were all corrupt. All of them. I don't care. That should be the rule. We cannot have this merry-go-round with these same old bastards that are leading us to where we are right now. And we pretend, 2027, sijui Ruto will win, he'll change his mind, he's improving, he's bringing sijui maendeleo, I don't know what. And you look at the other side, a bunch of semi-literate tribalists who can barely wipe their own ass. The Martha Karuas, Eugene Wamalwa, who was flaunting his wife. That's not even his wife. The guy we've been on, the guy swings the other way. Lakini anataka kurun for I don't know what. Probably he's going to be part of that conclave and be made a deputy prime minister somewhere. So he has to come up with a wife somehow. That wasn't even his wife. There was no chemistry. I'll show you the picture for the sake of for shits and giggles. We can't have these people manipulate us to another years of oppression. We cannot. We can't. Hatuwezi. We shouldn't allow it. No, hiyo imetosha. Here's this moron who was flaunting his wife as if that's something that Kenyan people are interested in. If you're going to run for public office, you should tell us what you are standing for. What's your manifesto? What's your plan for the country? I think he was the minister of, I don't know, law or constitution or whatever the case, and it failed flat during Uhuru Kenyatta's regime.
Leo nina furaha sana kuwa hapa na mke wangu. Jue kuna wengine walikuwa nafikiria sina bibi. Huyu ni kitunikiwa kuwa rais wa 6 wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Huyu ndiye atakuwa first lady wenu. Wow. Na nataka mumzoe mapema. Mapema ndio best, ndio? Lakini pia msikie sauti yake. Mjue jina lake. Si ndio? Na nashukuru sababu mumekubali yeye pia ajiunge na chama. So officially sisi wote, mimi na familia yangu ni wana DAP. Let me invite my wife and my fellow DAP member. Awambie jina lake. Karibu.
Asante sana. Wana DAP hamjambo.
Jambo.
Bwana Yesu asifiwe.
Amen.
Bwana Yesu asifiwe tena. DAP
Mwamko mpya.
DAP
Mwamko mpya.
Asanteni. Wageni wetu leo, mgeni wetu wa heshima, Governor wa Siaya, Honorable James Orengo, our Deputy Party Leader, Mheshimiwa Munyinyi, our Secretary General, Mheshimiwa Eseli, Deputy Secretary General.
Enough of that crap. My depression level has gone up just listening to these two. They look like a lesbian couple. Shenzi kapsa. Anyway, I don't even know why I played that in your clip. I should have played something more. But anyway, one man made a video that I really liked that basically highlighted why some section of the country is they have a cultish following of their leader. Here it is. Here's this gentleman right here. I don't even know his name, but hold on. Let's get started.
You are singing two-term. William Ruto should be a two-term president. But when I asked you why, you are telling us, and you are telling me, that Kibaki was a two-term president, Uhuru was a two-term president. So we should also give William Ruto a two-term presidency. That is the only reason you are giving us. And when we go further, you are telling us that Kikuyus hate Ruto. I want to ask you a question. Did you vote for William Ruto? The same Kikuyus that you are now alleging that they hate William Ruto and they want him to go are the same people who voted for him. You want to tell me that Kikuyus never knew that William Ruto was a challenging when they were voting for him? Wewe ulipigia Raila Odinga kura. And you are now the one shouting on the social media telling us how Kikuyu wanachukia William Ruto. Are you out of your mind? Are you mad? Before you talk about Kikuyus and anybody else, let's talk about Raila. Let's talk about your Raila. Raila has been in government of Moi. He was in Uhuru's regime. He was in Kibaki's regime. And now he is in William Ruto's regime. The question I want to ask you, how is Raila being in government has changed your life? How many industries have you built in Luo Nyanza? How many? And as a community called Luos, what do you have? What are you contributing economically for the economy of the Kenya? How many industries do you have? The media stations you are listening and you are watching does not belong to you. The banks where you put your money does not belong to you. What are you producing as a country? How are you contributing to the economy of Kenya? Apart from being employed here by the same people unachukia. Radio Ramogi employed Wajaluo wangapi? That is a Kikuyu media station. Ramogi TV ni ya nani? Ni ya Kikuyu. Umeandikwa kazi huko, nafanya huko. How many industries have Raila built for you in Nyanza that you can say hii ni yetu? What can you say? What can you stand and tell Kenyans that this belongs to us? Even the house you are living in belongs to Kikuyu. Wewe kama Mjaluo, as a Luo nation, what are you producing? How are you contributing economically? Sikuandikwa tu hapa kazi kwa serikali hapa. Hizi ndogo kama walimu nini hapa. What are you producing? How many industries do you have? You have Lake Victoria, but the processing industry is in Thika. Why is it Raila cannot empower Luos? Because he knows very well. If he empowers Luos, they will no longer be his political pawns. He will no longer use you as his political pawns. The only thing that Raila can give you is poverty, bloodshed, deaths, graves in Luo Nyanza. That's the only thing that Raila can contribute to you. Raila has built economic empire, his economic empire for him and his family. He has built a political empire. But what about you? What about you people who have been used as his political pawns? What are you proud of as a Luo nation? What are you proud of? You can say, this is what Raila have been bringing to us. Because he was in Moi's regime, this is what he brought to us. Because he was in Kibaki's regime, this is what he brought for us. He was in Uhuru's regime, this is what he brought for us. And now he's in Kibaki's regime, this is what he's bringing to us. Can you tell us? Can you just be proud of yourselves and tell us what you have been receiving from this man called Raila? Your problem is not nobody else. All along, your problem have been Raila Amolo Odinga. And you need to know it very well. It is time that you wake up. It is time that you wake up. I want to see banks run by Luos. I want to see industries in Nyanza. If you are serious, tell William Ruto, aende kujenge hata tuko na so many fruits, mango, maembe iko huko mingi zaidi. Why can't you build something like Del Monte in Nyanza? Why? Raila cannot allow that to happen. When Rafael Tuju was building something like that in Nyanza, what happened? He told Luos that Kibaki gave Tuju money to come and build that industry so that Tuju could beat him in elections. And what happened? Luos walienda wakabomoa hiyo industry. Waliharibu hiyo industry kabisa. Mpaka leo haijajengwa mpaka leo. How are you going to develop without industries and job creation? How? Unatoka huko mbali unakuja Nairobi kutafuta job, unawacha freshwater lake there. Where Raila kiwa kwa serikali anazambia Ruto, make these things to be the world class, where we can process our fish and export it. But he knows, if he empowers you, you are no longer going to be his political pawns. He is no longer going to use you as his political pawns. So that's the reason why. It's very simple. Make them poor, brainwash them, make them believe that you are the only savior. Whatever you say is true. Hata kama wanakufa njaa, hata kama wanakufa kwa maandamano, but as long as you are Raila, you're okay, they're okay. At Raila kikuwa serikali, so Luos are in government. How can Luos be in government when Luos are suffering with poverty? The poverty that is in Nyanza, people don't want to talk about it, but I will tell you today. Do you know, sometimes you see beautiful houses. Ya mtu anaitwa engineer, anaitwa pilot, what, wanajenga nyumba kubwa kabisa. Then around him, watu wanaishi kwa nyumba nyasi. It's only in Luo Nyanza where people are still living in thatch houses. Let me tell you, places like Ugenya, where Rego comes from, watu wanaishi kwa nyumba ya nyasi. Na nyumba ile ya kuweka thatch, ile ya kuweka mud. My friend, let me tell you, it's either Luos wake up or they die in poverty. Their problem is Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga atakangi kuona a leader who can change the lives of Luo people. Ukikuja, you want to change the lives of Luo people, anakumaliza politically. It is so sad. It is so sad. That baba ya Raila alitumia Wajaluo. Raila pia mwenyewe anakuja anatumia baba yako, anatumia watoto wako, but you cannot think, you cannot wake up, and you don't want to wake up. It is so sad.
Woo. Need I say more? I think that's something very accurate, not only in Luo Nyanza, but Luo Nyanza specifically because Raila, he has a hold stronghold, and it's not only that, but he uses terrorist tactics. I mean, this guy, we've seen the kind of violence that ODM uses to ndio upate ushindi huko. Of course, there are people who have been rebelling against the ODM party, but we'll come to. Here's the reason why Ruto will not give up his seat easily, ladies and gentlemen.
Nimemwambia Uhuru, hii chunga hapo iko Kiingereza. Akaniambia hapana, nimechunga kabisa, kila kitu iko sawa. Kulikuwa na mtu mwingine anaitwa Nje, sijui nani. Mwisho mlango kumbe ilikuwa wazi, wengine wakaingia ndani wakaharibu, si ndio? Mimi nikatoka hapa nikafika State House. Kufika State House nikakuta rafiki yangu wako hapo. Sitaki kusema alikuwa anafanya nini, kwa sababu sisi ni wazee. So ndio huyo sasa hii maneno sijui nini, mimi sitaki mimi nataka kwenda Ichaweri, wewe sijui sasa mimi sitaki, wacha tuachane na hii kitu. Mimi nikamwangalia nikamwambia, wewe ni vile tu nilikuwa na heshima, ningemchapa kofi. Ati sisi tuache, ati tutoke hapa. Hapana. Na ni kura tumeshinda. Kwani alikuwa ametushinda wapi? Tumeshinda wabunge, tumeshinda magavana, tumeshinda senators wengi, tumefanya hiyo kazi yote.
Anyway, that video is a simple illustration of how Ruto thinks. And I'm sure he's not willing to stop anytime soon. Now, when I saw the news about the highway, Wiziwa highway, is it whatever highway that Uhuru built, the money that was, I guess it's been controlled by the Kenyatta family, a company that's by the Kenyatta family. I wasn't that surprised. I mean, that's something that I think has been in public domain for those who know, okay? But I think it's an attempt by Ruto to deflect, show that, I'm not the only corrupt one. There are people who are in you. But here's a video that I want to show you to give you an idea of the IMF stuff that's happening in Kenya. Remember, we talked about how, the IMF gave Ruto, Kenya, basically, masharti, conditions that they have to meet in order for them to release that 95 billion or whatever the case is, Kenyan shillings to them, and Ruto just assented to the bill so that it would officially pass. Now, here's another sharti that, or conditions that the IMF were giving another country, Ghana. So you see how these gangsters, these globalists who run IMF, World Bank, UN, how they deal with African countries. And Ghana actually were pushing back, saying, listen, we don't need your money. We can do this by ourselves. Then, wakaanza kupata mathreat. I'm helping you understand why Ruto is there and why Kenya is deeply entrenched, controlled, embedded, in bed with or controlled by the globalists. Okay? And every agenda, whether it's the LGBTQ, hiyo mambo ya chakula ya GMO, na mashindano ambao tunapigwa, hata mashindano yanapigwa ng'ombe, and the privatization of our industries. These are conditions that the IMF demand you have to meet before they release this loan. But these loans go to individual folks like Ruto and his cohorts, Kina Raila, Uhuru, and the rest, and even the members of opposition. But they have to play this saga and pretend that they are politically opposed. That's the game that's been played here. Okay? That's what's happening. The idea is to control these individual sovereign nations to be at the mercy of these corporations and they're assisting these corporations by using these globalist institutions like the World Bank and IMF. Okay? You will think that you are in Kenya, you live in Kenya and you are a republic, but unaishi tu hapo Kenya, but you are a tenant in your own country. You don't own anything. I was just thinking about this the other day. You know, I used to think, kitambo, when we didn't know better, I was like, I can't wait to go to this inches maju or whatever the case is, so that I can make money, so I can live in a big city, driving a nice car, living in concrete jungle, having a nice apartment somewhere in Manhattan, okay, or maybe in London somewhere in Buckingham, whatever the case is, those posh places, West London, okay, I'm at Geneva or whatever the case is, and I have it made. Naendesha gari nzuri, having a nice job, suit and tie, 9 to 5. Life is good. Na najenga kanyumba kadogo huko Kenya, whatever the case is. I used to think that's the life. That hiyo ndio sa life. But came to think of it, do you know that African man who lives huko Ushago na kona shamba karibu eka, 20-something, 30-something, 50-something acres, and has a bunch of goats, cows, livestock, chicken, and he plants his own seeds, organic seeds, and eat the food, feeds himself from the livestock and the plants that he grows from the ground. Do you know that man is richer than Jeff Bezos? Did you know that? No, seriously, think about it. I want you to think about it clearly. Do you know that that man is richer than Jeff Bezos? Why do you think Bill Gates and BlackRock and all these people, for example, in the US, if you read, they're now buying all the water supplies, maji. They're buying land, vast land in Midwest and other places. Why? Yes, it was a Cinderella dream. Why do you think they're doing that? Land. Because even hapa huku inchi za nje, majority of the people live in what? Easy industrial areas, what we call inner cities. Tuna rent. Okay, it's a nice house, you have a nice whatever, but you don't own anything. I like what one person said. He said, if you're paying taxes for your property, you don't own that property. What I'm trying to say is this: when you analyze the system that is in place, that is run by bankers, okay? Hii mambo ya kutumia fiat money and the food that you eat in the Western places, even the person who rides on a Rolls Royce, life might seem so, good, but they're actually poor because they're not in control of anything. Your wealth can be switched off like that. Hiyo pesa imewekwa kwa banki, waki-freeze. I mean, poor Dr. Umar, for those of you who know Dr. Poor, the guy, his accounts have been frozen. He's begging for money. But that's what I'm talking about. Under this globalist system, you own nothing. You're a renter. That's why nasema, wale watu tukunaangalia Ushago, wale walikuwa washamba, wale walikuwa wamekaa huko, wanalima asubuhi, they wake up at 4 a.m, wanalima, wanachuna mboga, and if they want to eat barbecue meat, wanaenda wanachinja mbuzi, wanakula. I mean, they lived good. These guys, and they lived till 100 and something years old. Okay, now Oburu Odinga is going to celebrate his 255th birthday next week or something. So that's what I'm saying. Yes, the account is frozen. So that's what I'm saying. If you start looking at what real wealth is, si ile iko majuu ambao mnaambiwa mkafanye kazi huko na Alfred Mutua. And Africans, we are so silly. Our presidents are selling our land, our livestock, our food supply. They are selling it for cheap so they can have that they can have that worthless pepper they call British pound or US dollar or whatever the case is, euros. Just a bunch of pepper that's not backed by anything. And they'd go rent houses in Dubai. Wanna fly on a Rolls Royce private jet. Na mademu wazungu up when they think they're living the life. Well, the true wealth is in their countries, what they're selling. Remember when I was telling you about when I used to get mad at my history teacher when he was telling us during barter trade or trade with Arabs, the Arabs used to give us spices, roiko, na sisi tulikuwa tunawapatia gold. It's the same thing that's happening right now with this globalist. That's why they choose the most ignorant, compromised political prostitute they can find, like a Ruto, like a Uhuru Kenyatta, like a Raila Odinga, like a Martha Karua, like a Wamalwa, like a Munyoro. Wanamfurahisha, they dangle some SUV, wanampatia red carpet, they invite her or him in Buckingham Palace, and they think they're so important, especially wakirudi huko mtaani, huko ndani huko ushago, na wanapigiwa makofi. Tiringenye, Raila, Gwambo, Jamba. Rigiji, Budamaki. And they think they are so big. But they're slaves. They're stupid. Wazungu wanacheka. Look at how they're giving up their land. They're selling out their people for 13 pieces of silver. See what I'm saying? And they use the IMF to do that. And the World Bank. Tunawapatia loan. Ruto naambiwa, we iba vile unataka. Si unataka nini? We'll give you access. Tutakupatia private jet. You can fly wherever you want. Don't worry about paying for it. Taxpayers will fuel that's the private jet. Unataka dem, tutakupatia hata Naomi Campbell, whatever. Supermodel unataka hapo. Unaletewa Epstein hapo akupatie dem hata kwa underage. Hiyo ndo unataka? Tunakupatia hiyo, usijali. You want access to credit? Haya. Umefunguliwa American Express. Vile unataka, wewe usijali kulipa. Taxpayers wa Kenya watalipa. You want apartments in London? Yes. The same thing. Enda kaangalia kina Bokasa, sijui kina nani. Na watu wametoka huko ninio, they have never been exposed. Ni washenzi kabisa. And they cannot stand to defend the land of their forefathers. The real wealth is your land. The real wealth is your history. Alfred Mutua anasimama hapa anatuambia tiendeni kazi majuu. Instead of building. Anyway, here's an example of IMF how it works. Kind of lengthy. Stick with me. But, if you have time, if you don't have time, you can always watch it at your Ninio. Just how IMF is dealing with Ghana. Okay? All right, here it is. Shout out to African Reloaded for this.
Over and over again, the West keeps reminding Africa why it can never be trusted. Take this shocking example. The moment Ghana's currency, the cedi, beat the US dollar to become the top performing currency in the world, guess who stepped in with a warning? Yes, instead of celebrating Ghana's progress, the International Monetary Fund accused Ghana of manipulating its currency. Their claim? That the Bank of Ghana has been injecting money into the economy to artificially boost the cedi's value. But here's the million-dollar question. Why should the IMF care about Ghana's success? Is it suddenly a crime for an African currency to rise? And most importantly, should Ghana listen to the IMF? Or is this just another tool of control disguised as financial advice? Stay with us, because what we're about to uncover will make you question everything you thought you knew about the IMF and its role in Africa. Dr. Arikana Chihombori Kwao, former African Union ambassador to the United States, once said something that shook the room. IMF, World Bank, and all these financial institutions make African countries jump through hoops for loans they can never repay. Their survival depends on us failing. Their success is built on our failure. Strong words, but are they true? Look at what's happening in Ghana right now, and you'll have your answer. Ghana just achieved something historic. For the first time in recent memory, an African currency, the Ghanaian cedi, beat the US dollar to become the world's top-performing currency. A moment of pride, right? Something the global financial community should celebrate? Not the IMF. Instead of applauding Ghana's progress, the IMF issued a warning. They accused the Bank of Ghana of manipulating the market, claiming the central bank is injecting money directly into the economy, which is why the cedi is rising. Let that sink in. A stronger currency means lower import costs. It eases inflation. It improves the lives of ordinary Ghanaians. But the IMF says it's not good. Imagine that.
What if you can create your own website by saying, this is what I want? With Wix, you can.
When African currencies collapse, the IMF lectures about structural reform. But when an African nation succeeds, suddenly there's a problem. Dr. Arikana was right. And for speaking this truth, she was silenced, sanctioned, and removed. But the truth remains. The global financial system was never designed for Africa to win. And Ghana's situation is proof. The IMF didn't stop at accusations. They went further, warning Ghana to stop manipulating the market and to let the so-called free market decide the strength of the cedi. And here's the twist. Some Ghanaian officials echoed the IMF's words. They claimed the currency's rise wasn't real, that it was just the Bank of Ghana flooding the economy with money. But ask yourself, why does the IMF care so much about Ghana's success? Isn't its mission to help nations stabilize their economies? Then why criticize Ghana for taking steps to strengthen its currency? How does that make sense? The answer is simple and uncomfortable. This is yet another sign that these Western-led institutions were never designed to see Africa succeed. Dr. Arikana said it best. The success of the IMF and World Bank depends on the failure of African economies. And if you doubt that, look at the track record. Decades of IMF programs in Africa, structural adjustments, austerity measures, endless loans. And what do we have to show for it? Crippling debt, collapsed industries, weak currencies. Not one IMF-driven policy has delivered true economic freedom for Africa. Not one. So why the outrage when Ghana finally breaks free, even for a moment, and proves it can succeed on its own terms? Because a strong, independent Africa threatens the very system that keeps these institutions alive. And that's the truth they don't want you to hear. To understand why Ghana's current success matters so much, let's rewind for a moment. Under the previous administration of Nana Akufo-Addo, the Ghanaian economy was on life support. Debt soared to record levels, inflation spiraled out of control, the cedi collapsed, and ordinary citizens bore the brunt of a crisis that many economists called the worst in decades. This was the bleeding economy President John Mahama inherited, a nation drowning in debt and despair. And the first order of business? To stop the bleeding. In a bold move to ease the suffering of millions, Mahama's administration made a game-changing announcement: the scrapping of several controversial taxes imposed during the COVID era by the former government, primarily to meet IMF loan conditions. These weren't just any taxes. They were taxes that hit the average Ghanaian hard, like the 1% levy on mobile money transfers and a VAT on motor vehicle insurance. Both gone. While presenting the 2025 economic budget, Finance Minister Cassiel Ato-Forson explained why this step was necessary. We inherited an economy in deep crisis, weighed down by debt and beset by massive fiscal challenges, arrears, energy sector shortfalls, and risks from the cocoa and financial sectors. In simple terms, Ghana was broke, battered, and bruised, and the IMF's prescription, those so-called reforms, only made the pain worse. But now, for the first time in years, Ghana is fighting back on its own terms. Of course, removing these taxes comes with its own challenges. With an economy already bleeding from debt mismanagement and financing shortfalls, critics are asking, how will the government make up for the lost revenue? The answer from Mahama's administration is simple. Ghanaians cannot keep carrying this weight. Inflation is soaring. The cedi has been battered, and families are struggling to survive. Removing these taxes, they argue, will ease the burden on households, put more money in people's pockets, and give businesses the breathing space they desperately need. As Finance Minister Cassiel Ato-Forson told lawmakers in Accra, the removal of these taxes will ease the burden on households and improve disposable incomes. In addition, it will support business growth. And the cuts didn't stop there. Alongside the mobile money levy and vehicle insurance VAT, the government scrapped a 10% tax on lottery winnings, an emission levy on vehicles and industries, and a 1.5% tax on unprocessed gold from small-scale miners. But here's where the story gets really interesting. These taxes weren't random. They were introduced by Akufo-Addo's administration for one reason, to satisfy the conditions of an IMF bailout. That bailout? A $3 billion loan secured in 2023. Now pause and think about this. What did that loan actually achieve? Did it transform Ghana's economy? Did it reduce poverty? Did it create jobs? No. All it did was push Ghana deeper into debt, while ordinary citizens paid the price through suffocating taxes. This is the dark truth about IMF prescriptions. They promise stability, they deliver dependency, and Ghana's experience is living proof. Thankfully, there's a glimmer of hope. Ghana's finance minister recently stood before parliament with a bold message. The bleeding has stopped. Under President John Mahama, elected in December, the government has taken aggressive steps to stabilize the economy. One of the key plans? Amending the Revenue Administration Act to improve tax collection, a move expected to generate an additional 0.3% of GDP. And that's not all. Ghana plans to reintroduce road tolls this year under an ambitious infrastructure initiative dubbed the Big Push. But Mahama's administration knows revenue alone won't save Ghana. So, alongside removing nuisance taxes, they've pledged steep spending cuts, a move aimed at reviving the economy and restoring investor confidence. The goal is clear: achieve real GDP growth of at least 4% and bring inflation down to 12%. Economists like Daniel Amatai Anim Prempe have praised these moves, calling them a lifeline for ordinary citizens and businesses. He says scrapping those punitive taxes will put money back into people's pockets and give struggling companies a chance to recover. But here's the catch. The success of this plan depends on whether the government can boost revenue without widening the fiscal deficit. And so far, they're making real progress. Progress so remarkable that Ghana's currency, the cedi, outperformed the US dollar and became the world's top-performing currency. This should have been a cause for celebration. Instead, the IMF has chosen criticism over applause. Why? Because Ghana is winning without following the IMF playbook. Because Ghana dared to cut those IMF-backed taxes and still came out on top. And that's the uncomfortable truth. IMF programs are not designed to make African economies thrive. They're designed to keep them dependent. Don't believe it? Let's look at Egypt. For nearly a decade, Egypt's economy has danced to the tune of the IMF. Every major decision, every key reform, directed by Washington-based technocrats. And yet, after all these years, Egypt hasn't prospered. It has collapsed even further. The people know it because they felt it every single day. Prices climbing, wages stagnant, basic necessities, once affordable, now out of reach for millions of Egyptians. Take March 2024, for example. Egypt signed a massive $8 billion financial support package with the International Monetary Fund. On paper, it sounded like salvation, but the fine print told a different story. To access the money, Egypt had to make painful concessions, slash subsidies on fuel, electricity, and other essentials, float the Egyptian pound freely, allowing its value to sink. What does that mean in real life? means the government would no longer shield ordinary citizens from skyrocketing costs. Fuel prices soared, electricity bills doubled. Everyday commodities became luxuries. And all this suffering just to unlock billions of dollars in loans, not just from the IMF, but from the World Bank and the European Union as well. Loans that would only sink Egypt deeper into the quicksand of debt. Think about that. Egypt was forced to make life harder for its people in exchange for borrowing more money. Is this economic rescue or economic sabotage?
All right. Sorry, guys, I have to.
And so
you can watch the rest of the video on the whatever. The point I was making, my mic was off apparently. I was just saying that don't you find there's a lot of similarities between Egypt and Kenya, that the concessions that you have to make when you take the IMF money, the masharti, the conditions are that you cannot provide subsidies for things like electricity and fuel. And I mentioned, there's a video that I played, a live that I did a few months ago, 6 months or almost a year now, when I played the part of Cheragay, he was on Spice FM. He mentioned that when Ruto came into became president, there was some conditions that were given by the World Bank that they had to remove subsidies to fuel and all that. And you see, he was mentioning about the Egypt, how all the Nino, yeah, it's the same thing. Thank you, Bedas. The vitu vya kawaida ambao we use every day, like fuel, electricity and all that stuff, all of that, the price of the commodities go up because the government, they tell the government that you cannot provide subsidies for that, and the gharama ya maisha inaenda juu. And that's what the Kenyans were complaining about. If you remember when Ruto came in, and even when Kenyatta was there, that's what I'm telling you. If you want to get a good indication that the president of the regime at hand is a Western puppet, just look at the steps that they take. If they receive the IMF money, know that the IMF money comes with concessions, okay, that they have to do. Part of it is do what? Take out the subsidies, okay, because they want to. And in that video clip, they were actually giving an example of Egypt and how Egypt was going to the same thing. They followed everything to the T as to what the IMF wanted, and they found themselves in an economic ditch. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's been 1 hour 37 minutes. I'm not going to go ahead with this, but if you want to go watch that video, it's on a channel called African Reloaded. It's titled IMF with Ghana, how IMF is dealing with Ghana. Ghana is actually proving that IMF is not pro-Africa or pro-African economy. They just want control and give basically take away your sovereignty without using a gun. That's basically what it is. Go read the book that Joseph Bedas, thank you so much, that Joseph Bedas actually told us, which I've been telling you guys about, the Economic Hitman by John Perkins. It explains all these things, and that's what's happening in Kenya. The point I was making from the beginning was that all these leaders that we have, even Ruto, for those of us who are saying that we want to take out Ruto, do not expect to take this guy out through the ballot, okay? Because he's backed by these very people, these IMF folks who are now brazenly currently in Kenya. They have the UN, their biggest institution, moved to Nairobi, which is where the headquarters will be, showing us that whoever is going to be the leader of Kenya is going to be heavily backed by these colonialists. So the only way we can remove it is if we exercise our sovereign authority by removing Ruto through a popular revolution and reinstating the people who we choose as a people, and nationalizing our parastatals, our industries, so forth, so forth. Anyway, thank you so much, Joseph Bides, and everybody who's watching this. Brother Benson, who was here, please go to Brother Benson's show. He has a wonderful show there. Subscribe, share, comment, like, and do all the good stuff in his show. And everybody else who was part of this. If you're going to watch this on repeat, please do the same. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow or whenever I come back. Put your notification on so when I come in, you find me. Subscribe, share, comment, do all the good stuff. My name is Kenya Revolutionary. Peace and blessings.